Alright guys, it's Chatterbox Reviews, coming at you guys with The Crossing, Season 1, Episode 5, review. Alright, so I enjoyed this episode. Honestly, I really did. I liked it. Thought they did some new stuff in this one that we haven't really seen yet. A lot of the good use of flashbacks in this one. And I would say this one was just really all about that first arrival, right? That kind of first arrival with the group of them, with Craig and now Eve, we know is the woman who shot Emma last episode, right? So yeah, so there's just a lot of, stuff with that group in this one. I would say that was probably the focus. Yet a couple other things, with Reese going on with Jude and Nestor. That stuff was going on, but I would say that was the main focus of this episode. But yeah, so I'd just like to thank you guys for the support on these reviews for this series. Honestly, okay, so I'm enjoying this series. I think it's entertaining to watch, and I honestly, I really am enjoying it. But I don't know. A friend of mine pointed out, recently too, that this show, I don't know. I just feel like it could be a lot better if it wasn't on, network television, for instance. I mean, imagine a show like this with a concept like this on, an HBO or a Showtime or anything on a Netflix, right? Like, anything like that, I just think would be a little bit better, or even just like AMC, for example, like just cable, right? I just feel like the network, ABC, is just kind of squashing it right now. And any potential that it had, going forward, I just feel like it's kind of reached the potential right now. I think this is all that we're gonna see, right, in the show. Which is a little unfortunate, just because I feel like the concept, the actors, I wouldn't really, the writing, I don't know, but the actors and the concept and the whole story, arc here of the show, is really good, and I really think a lot of people like it. But there's got to be something else there, right? And I think if it wasn't on a network, show, then it would be. So I'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit later on. But first, we'll go through a little bit of a recap here. And then towards the end, we'll talk a little bit more about that with a rating, favorite character, and some more overall thoughts of the episode, of course. Yeah. So, yeah, again, I'd just like to thank you guys. The channel in general has just been doing really awesome. I'm not sure if I'm going to be making a video for 100 subscribers, but I am really appreciative of that. I really can't thank you guys enough. So yeah, I really appreciate that. And this series is doing really well. So for sure, keeping up week to week reviews. So please keep coming back every week for review of the episode. So of course, make sure you watch the episode first, and then come for the review. But yeah. So anyway, so we start off with this one with Marshall remembering back 10 years to him and his parents getting into an accident. Right. So this was a weird start to the episode, because I just really had no idea what was going on, right? We see these three people that we've never seen before in the show, and we're like in episode 5 right now. I mean, in the pilot, you kind of expect that, but in episode 5, to see three totally new people that you've never seen before in the show, to start the episode off, it was like, what's going on right now? Like I think I even checked. I'm like, am I on the right, the right show here? But anyways, turns out it was just Marshall as a kid, so it was basically a big flashback, right, to 2008. So, and it is good, I think, that now we confirm that the show is based in 2018, right? So, so it is current times. It's not, a little bit of a period kind of, no, I wouldn't say a period piece, but just, a little bit older. But no, it is 2018. So we got that confirmed this episode. But yeah, so his parents getting into an accident, right? But now the difference is he always knew about the accident, but now he remembers seeing people on the road. And that is why his dad swerved out of the way and they went over that big cliff and everything happened, right? And then from Marshall's point of view, we see Craig and the man we met before, I don't know his name. I forget his name, but anyways, I mean, Reese killed him, right? He, she snapped his neck. But anyway, so him and Craig were the ones on the road from the first migration. So, that was a really cool scene, to see them, and then they all kind of just walk away down the road. That was like kind of a really creepy vibe, and you had like a little bit of the mist, and it was dark outside, so I really liked that. I felt like that was a really awesome little visual there, seeing them all walk down the road like that. So that was 2008, yeah, I was about to say 2018, but 2008, right? So we're 10 years ago now, and now it was the first arrival, right? And obviously Craig and this man and Eve who's the woman who shot Emma, of course, are part of that first arrival. So they're all part of that. So yeah, really interesting stuff there for sure, right? But I don't know. My question is, like, why does Marshall just suddenly remember it now? It seems kind of convenient for the story here that he just suddenly remembers it in a dream. The day that Jude and Nestor are kind of looking into it more. Whatever, but anyways, yeah, that would be my one thing I like to point out there. But then we see Agent Foster. Now, we've seen a little bit of him, like, in the past, but he's never had, like, more than, like, 1 or 2 lines, in each episode. But yeah, so anyways, he comes in to see Jude at the station, and he asks if he's seen Emma, right? Because she's now missing. They don't know where she is, obviously, because she was just shot last episode. And in this whole episode, we actually don't see Emma once. We don't exactly find out what happened to her, which I'll talk a little bit about later, but I don't like that. So then Jude goes to the hotel where Emma was staying, or was supposed to be staying, right? We're not sure if she actually, was, I guess. But he does find her coat and her badge, but not her, right? So we do know that she was staying in the room, I guess. And then Jude is able to find information that she left in the hotel's, or on the hotel's computer, right? So he takes that back to the station, and one of his tech guys there is able to hack into it, and they find this information that she left on the computer, and the guy thinks that she purposely did it because she would know that the program's easy to hack and that someone could easily access the information. So the guy thinks that she, purposely left it. And in specific, they find a file of Craig Lindauer, right, which is her boss, and we get a lot of him in this episode. So Jude definitely, and he says, you're gonna have to print that off for me, right? So he knows Craig, right, and he knows, okay, well, that's her boss, and that's the guy who, is up to something here, and Emma, I think, has told him that she thinks he's up to something. So something big is happening here, and Jude's finally figuring out, so he decides to tell Nestor the truth about what's going on so that he can kind of help him, right? Because I think Jude's kind of struggling with going through this alone right now, because he's still not sure if he, like, totally believes all of it. But now that he's told Nestor, things might be a little bit easier. He has, his friend, his partner to help him out in this. And they start to piece things together a little bit as Nestor, finds out the truth. And he realizes that Marshall may have been telling him the truth about people randomly appearing, right? Marshall tells him a little bit, or at the very beginning of the episode, I think the first scene of the episode after the accident, little flashback there, he tells Nestor that he, remembered the people in the street. And Nestor, of course, at the time is like, no, that's ridiculous, go home or whatever, right? Typical reaction. But no, now he finally, now that he knows the truth, he's like, damn, I mean, Marshall actually may have been, telling the truth about this. So, yeah, very, very interesting there. So then we see Reese and Sophie. I'm just going to cover their whole part. I mean, their parts were kind of, scrambled through the episode, or scattered through the episode here. But I'm just going to talk about them all in one, instead of, following chronological order. Because there really wasn't a big part in it, but, obviously a part worth mentioning. So Reese and Sophie, they sneak into this lab, right, to synthesize this cure for Leia. So this was interesting. We also see that Reese is able to handle pain, a lot of pain, easier than humans, right? And I don't know, I just feel like they're kind of overusing the whole Reese's Apex thing. I feel like, yeah, we kind of get it that she's genetically advanced, but they tend to keep showing us the same things over and over again of, like, wow, she's not human, right? Like, she's superhuman. She doesn't feel pain. She can hear, Sophie's heart, she even talks about in this episode. So, I don't know. I feel like we kind of get it at this point that she's, genetically advanced, like I said. So I don't know. I just don't think they have to keep mentioning that every single episode and show us scenes, symbolizing that. But anyways, that's what they do. So Sophie then asks how Reese found Leia, right? And of course, we've seen that before in the flashback. But it was interesting to hear Reese kind of tell her about it. And say, Reese says, I've never heard something cry like that, right? And so she obviously felt for Leia in that situation, and that's why she took her back and took her as her own, right? Even though it was against a lot of scrutiny because she was an Apex and Leia was a regular human. So, yeah, really, really, tough thing there. But good, really good scene there. Kind of, I would say a bonding scene, but I mean, Sophie and Reese are kind of at odds at this point, and this kind of brings them closer together because Sophie also tells her, that she was left by her mother, so she was adopted as well. So that was kind of an interesting moment there. And then we learn it's a race against time to save Leia, right? As she's deteriorating rapidly, the girl says to Sophie on the phone. And so, they really rush out, right? So Sophie finally gets the cure, but on their way out, a guard comes in and tries to stop them. And again, this is what I'm saying. I mean, then they show us, Reese taking him out, throwing his gun against the wall and stuff like this. And like I said, I mean, we kind of already know that she's a fighter, that she can do these things. But yeah, no, it was still interesting. I mean, I love the action scenes with Reese. I think it's totally badass, what she can do. Don't get me wrong, right? But I just think it's a little bit repetitive now that they keep, focusing on that when we already know. So anyways, so Reese is able to take him out, right? Pretty quickly too. And then they just walk out and she's like, pretend like nothing happened, right? So that was kind of funny, a little bit, a little bit of humor in there. So then Sophie, yeah, is it Sophia or Sophie? I think it's Sophie, but anyways, so Sophie arrives back at the camp then with the treatment, and presumably, I mean, I don't know what Reese does. I think she just kind of like drives away somewhere, but we don't really see, where she goes. But obviously she can't go to the camp with Sophie, right? Or else, bad shit's gonna happen because she, is an Apex. So, obviously, and they actually know about Apex now, right? So they know that she's bad. So she arrives back at the camp with the treatment. She gives it to Leia, and it looks like it's gonna work, right? And it really works fast too. I mean, within minutes. I mean, Leia is already, kind of awake now. She's conscious again. The fever's going down, her heartbeat's going up, and all that stuff. So it's working, right? It's working pretty fast, and they're able to, treat Leia, and it looks like she's going to survive. So that's, that's very good. But Reese does mention in this episode that she has treated Leia every couple years for this disease. So it's, it's not just a cure that's going to, fix it forever. This is kind of every 2 years. I mean, she has to treat her for it, right? So that's going to be interesting going forward. I mean, if they really, Leia's going to die without Reese with her, right? Without Reese being able to give her the treatment, Leia's gonna die, right? Eventually. So yeah, it's, interesting there. And then, I don't know, this pissed me off, but, it just makes sense. But, so Sophie then asks, what else can you heal? Right, to the little vial of Reese's, I guess it was her bone marrow, right, that they were taking, and that was this thing that could heal Leia. And I don't know. I mean, I just think she's getting dumb ideas now. And of course, what is this going to lead to? I mean, Reese is going to be mad at her, right? So I don't know. It's just, saves a lot of heartache here. If she didn't say something like this and think this, but whatever, so she's getting ideas, and we'll see what she does with it. I don't know. Maybe she'll try to, cure some animal or something that's died. Or, some crazy like that, but we'll see. So we'll see where that goes. But yeah, just kind of a little bit of annoying, but, kind of saw it coming too, right? For someone to finally be, in possession of something like that, I mean, you're bound to ask, well, what else could it heal, right? So you're starting to abuse it a little bit, which, I mean, Sophie, I could totally see her doing, right? She's that type of person, but... So then we get the huge part with the first arrival stuff. So I'm going to talk about this all in one kind of section here, and then go on with the rest of the episode. Just because I thought they did it very, very well with all the stuff here. With the flashbacks, the flash forwards, I mean, the time skips in between times. So really, really well done. The only thing that I would have liked to see, and again, a network show kind of limiting this, but if they actually put like kind of a different filter on the times, and so then they didn't have to put the text on the screen every time they wanted us to be in a flashback, they could have put a filter on, make it a little bit darker in 2010 than the present times, right? So that we knew in between the flashbacks. I really like when shows do that. But again, I mean, ABC... would they have given the budget for something like that? I mean, I don't know. How hard is that to do? I don't know. But anyways, I would have liked to see it. So Craig and the woman, Eve, so we get her name. So her name's Eve. Talk about what happened, right? Talk about her shooting Emma. So then we see Craig is not okay with her shooting Emma. He kind of like questions her and says, why did you do that? Like that, you could have done a lot of other things than shoot her, right? So anyways, they have a little conversation, then they walk into the house. and everybody from the first migration is there, right? So they're there for this big meeting, right? And then they say that something went wrong, and that the portal or the time travel device, whatever it was supposed to be closed, right? This wasn't supposed to happen. That this new group came. They were supposed to be the only group, and that, and when they left, they closed the portal so no one could get through. So obviously something has gone wrong here, and Eve says she sees this as an opportunity, and she says it's time to think bigger, right? So then after that, we get all of these flashbacks throughout the episode here, and then at the very end, we get, one, basically this meeting continued. So we essentially get this part right here with the meeting. We get all the flashbacks piecing together who these people are, what they have done to get where they are, all this stuff, right? And then at the very end, we come right back to this scene and right where it left off. So I really, really enjoyed this part of the episode. By far, probably my favorite, part of it, as it was, it was a big focus. So anyways, 2010, 2 years after arrival, Craig is doing well at his job, right? As he can predict the future because he lived in it. So he's taking advantage here, and he's kind of using this, and being able to do well at his job, obviously, compared to the rest of the people who haven't, who don't know the future. And I think Eve even comes to see him, and she says, well, it helps when you have a crystal ball, right? And it's like, it's true, right? He has it. So that's also how he got his promotion. That's how he got, to be where he was. So that's something to note for sure, is that's kind of how he got there. And I actually wondered that. I wondered how he got such a high up position, in Homeland, being, a guy from the future, right? Coming back. So very interesting there. It kind of pieces things together. Then we see 2011, 3 years after the arrival, the group sets out 27 targets to kill in current time. So they're in the present now, so that Apex will cease to exist in the future, right? So one of the men comes up with this big plan, right? So he says that he calculated, who will be involved in the creation of Apex, and basically they put together this list, right, of 27 people that they need to take out in order for Apex not to be created in the future. And this was a pretty cool sequence, actually. This is, again, one of my favorite parts of the episode, where we see the people getting taken out one by one by this group of original arrivals, right? And then we hear Craig speaking over it, right? Speaking on what they are doing, and why they are doing it, because they need to prevent Apex from happening, right? Apex is so bad that they think that killing 27 people is worth it to, in order to stop it from happening. So really cool sequence there, actually. Obviously it's dark. They're murdering people, but it's just a cool sequence, the way it all played out. So yeah, that was pretty cool there. But killing 27 people, just to, prevent Apex from happening, in years down the road, I don't know, right? But you can look at it a different way too. They're doing that. They're taking all that risk of killing all these people in order to save people that are going to be in the future. They're not going to be in the future anymore. They're not going to be affected by Apex, and even Eve says that later in the episode. But they're doing it for the people who will be in the future, right? They're maybe even their, kids or something like that, right? So they're being, they're thinking of others in this. They're not just, selfish. So you got to think about it like that as well. So let me see that 2016, mission complete. My question is, it took 5 years to kill 27 people. Okay. I don't know. I just, that's the first thing I thought of. I'm like, 2016, I don't know. Maybe I missed something here. Please tell me if I did, but I don't understand how it would take 5 years to track down 27 different people. Maybe they were all around the world. I don't know. Maybe. And maybe a couple of them were in hiding or something and they couldn't find them. Who knows, right? But I don't know, 5 years seems a little bit ridiculous, but it is what it is. So the group toasts and celebrates their achievements, which they're essentially celebrating killing 27 people. But, of course, to them, they think now that Apex won't exist because of what they've done. So that's what they're celebrating, right? But one of them questions if they did it correctly, and the answer is obviously not, because they still exist in the future, as we know with Reese, for example. But yeah, so they kill all these 27 people, and now that we know, they didn't even do it correctly, or it just didn't work, right? It didn't work. It was not worth it at all. So kind of interesting to see that now. So we're at 2018, 1 week before where we are right now in the story. And this was, when they, washed up on the beach, right? When they were in the water, when they came in. And we see the reaction to the arrival, right? To the second arrival now, but this time from the earlier group's point of view, right? Not from, Jude, Nestor, and, and the regular other humans in the present, right? We see it from this group's point of view. So it was really, really cool the way they did this, because they really, brought everything, they introduced us to them, and they basically showed us, the whole story that we've known so far, but from a totally different perspective in these group of people who we didn't even know really existed, or we didn't know much about until this episode. So yeah, really, really great stuff here, and being able to kind of portray that in this episode, and then pretty much bring their whole storyline right up next to ours, so they're both at the same time now. So now we totally understand what's going on with, both storylines, right? So that was good. And obviously they're all freaking out, right? They can't believe that, 47 more people have arrived, because they thought they closed the portal, right? That's what they thought. So yeah, so then we see the rest of the meeting play out. So obviously this is, like I said at the beginning, out of order. But yeah, so I'm just going to tackle this now. So the rest of the meeting plays out between the earlier migration group. So again, we resume right where we left off in that first scene before all those flashbacks and time skips and everything. So one of the men starts panicking about the situation. And this is the guy who made the plans back in 2011 about the whole thing. And I'm like, you're panicking now? Like, you just realized that maybe your plan didn't work? I don't know. It's like this guy's kind of a dumb guy. But anyway, so he says that they have committed fraud, treason, and even murder to get where they are. And now with the new group of rivals, that can all be compromised, right? So they're all freaking out, right? Because of all the stuff that they've done, they can now get outed by these people who know about their earlier migration. For example, Thomas, but not all of them know, but only some of them know that that's happened. So, and then the guy admits, he's like, well, maybe it is impossible to change the future. Like, maybe our plan would have never, worked anyways. And it's like, you couldn't think of that 2011 when you killed 27 people, to prevent it. Like, I don't know. I just really don't like that guy. But and I don't think I don't think we got a name from him. But the guy with like the beard and the glasses and the kind of like the short spiky hair. Yeah, that guy just seemed like a dumb guy. And I don't know why they all like listened to him and followed what he had to say and went through with his plan, because obviously it did not work. But, anyways, maybe I'm looking at it from the wrong way, I don't know. But then Eve enforces the idea that they need to work together to still, try to cover this up, right? This guy, says, I'm out, tries to leave, and then one woman points a gun at him, and says, we're either all in, or you're out, and we're gonna kill you, right? Because we can't have the chance of you going out there and then compromising the rest of us. So he kind of learns his lesson, and learns that they all need to be together here to cover this up. They all need to work together, just as they did years ago. So Eve then proposes her new plan, and it's as follows. So she wants to capture Reese alive, right? And she wants to kill all the people with the similar gene, I think, as Reese, who could possibly be involved with Apex in the future, right? So they're still wanting to stop Apex, and Eve has this new idea that's even more, more severe than this guy's original idea back in 2011, right? So it's a big plan, and Craig points out that that's a lot of people who need to die in order for this plan to work, and Eve is still in on it. I mean, she doesn't really care. She says it's worth, the cost of all these people so that Apex won't be a thing in the future. That's how bad Apex is, at least in her opinion. So, wow. I mean, and that's kind of where we end off that whole story in this episode. So, yeah, I mean, crazy. And now, what is that number? Is it, 200? Is it 100? Is it 1,000? Is it 1,000,000? Like, I don't know, right? We don't know that number. But as Craig says, it's a lot. So, is that worth killing all those people to prevent Apex from happening in the future? I don't know, right? I mean, it's a big question. Obviously, she believes it is. So yeah, and what I got from this, though, is maybe Craig isn't the bad guy in all of this. Like, honestly, maybe he isn't even the worst guy here. I mean, he even, questions her and says, that's a lot of people. Like, are you sure about this? So he actually, though, has some morals here, and he actually cares, but it seems like Eve just will do anything to wipe out Apex in the future. So maybe Craig isn't actually the bad guy like we have thought in the last couple episodes. So yeah, kind of twisting things around here and moving that Craig character. So we'll have to see what happens with him in the future. If he actually ends up going, through with the plan like Eve wants him to, or if he's gonna, kind of object and help out the others. Who knows? I could kind of see that. I could kind of see him kind of twisting here and ending up to help the others. Even though at the beginning we thought he was, a huge, an evil guy, right? A bad guy. But then we see Marshall. So this is sort of the end of the episode here too. Marshall's about to leave Port Cannon finally, right, with his girlfriend. He finally tells her that they're going to leave together, right? And he's finally going to get out of there and go to LA, right? That's their plan. But then he gets a call from Hannah. So this was, I really thought this was significant because he tries to leave with his girlfriend and he gets a call from Hannah, right? And then he tries to leave again and then Nestor comes. So there's always something stopping him from leaving Port Cannon. And like there's a reason behind that, right? It kind of connects with that whole thing of Hannah knowing where to find him and thinking that he'll be her protector, stuff like that, right? So there's obviously something in the works here where it's kind of like fate is kind of stopping him from leaving, right? I think we kind of get that idea in this episode. But yeah, so Caleb gave over the phone now and Hannah's on the phone, but they don't really talk much. I mean, she just says, it's good to talk to you, and has to hang up before telling him anything because she hears some sounds outside of her cabin, and she obviously doesn't want to get caught speaking to Marshall about it, right? The Homeland security guys probably would not be happy with that. So she hangs up the phone. So because of this, he decides to leave, right? He's like, okay, well, Hannah doesn't really want to talk to me. She just hung up on me, so I'm just gonna leave now, right? And this is what I'm talking about. Right before he leaves with his bag, Nestor comes to the RV and tells him to come down to the station, right? So it always seems like there's something that's stopping him from leaving. Maybe he finally decided that he wants to leave, but he can't. You know what I mean? Something's stopping him. So then we see Marshall's back at the station, and he tells Jude about the people that he saw on the road the night of the accident, right? Just as he told Nestor at the beginning of the episode there. And Jude says he actually believes him now, right? Before, him and Nestor, thought it was, kind of bullshit. They thought his dad was drunk, the night of, and they didn't believe, that the people were there. But now that they know about the earlier migration and all this stuff, they're kind of thinking that it might make sense. I mean, Marshall may actually be right about this, that there were people on the road that night, right? So Marshall finds the picture of this, of the dead man, the guy who got his neck snapped by Reese on Jude's table there. So he grabs the picture and he points out to Jude and Nestor, and he says, this guy was at the accident. He was there the night of, the crash. And that was just really crazy. That's about where we left off with that one. But crazy stuff, right? I mean, just telling them that he was at the accident. Of course, we knew that, right? Because we saw that in the flashback. But really, really crazy stuff there. That's all connecting back. And obviously, them three are going to be kind of looking into that going forward. And then at the very end of the episode, we got a little bit of a cliffhanger here. So the doctor and a woman find this logo, and they call it a brand on one of the little girls on her neck there, right? So what does that mean, right? I'm sure that we'll get that explained in the future. I didn't think it was a big thing, but it was just kind of a thing to leave off the episode with a little bit of mystery there. So yeah, very good there, and that'll just about do it for the recap. Alright, so in terms of a rating for this episode, I'm going to give it a 4.1 out of 5. This is one of the lowest ratings I think I've given the series so far, but yeah, I thought it was a good way of introducing the first arrival group, right, with the flashbacks, the flash forwards, the time skips, all that stuff just really worked well together. And I really like the way that they kind of used all of that stuff, right? And then in the end of all the flashbacks and everything, they kind of brought that storyline and connected it exactly where we're at, with Jude and all the others, and kind of, brought those together. Now they're running parallel forward, right? So now that we can have a focus on Craig and them and know what's going on with them, and then we can also have a focus on Jude, right? So there's kind of like two main plots going forward here. We have this group that's trying to, kill people and get rid of Apex, and then we have this group trying to figure out what the hell is going on, right? And try to get to the bottom of things. But I think both of them are kind of focusing on the earlier migration, right? I think that's kind of the main focus right now, at least in this episode. So yeah, that I thought was really well done. But other than that, there were some negatives here. So no Emma in this episode. I was a little bit disappointed in that. I thought after the big cliffhanger that they showed last week, I thought for sure that we were going to learn about Emma, or at least see her and see what has happened. But we didn't get to see that at all. I don't think we even saw her in this episode. I mean, maybe in the previously on or whatever, but that's it. We didn't see her in this episode. So that was a little bit, I don't know. I count that as a negative. I was really expecting that. But they've kind of left it as a mystery here. I'm thinking that we'll maybe find out next episode. But yeah, I just really would have liked to see at least like something of the aftermath of the shooting. But it just seems like, I mean, Craig and Eve talked about it for a couple minutes. And then Agent Foster said that they're looking for her. But that's about it. We really had no focus on her at all after that huge cliffhanger last episode. We don't even know if she's alive right now, right? So, I don't know. I just felt like that was a little bit off. I just feel like the show's, at least in this episode, it's really becoming kind of cliche and predictable. But that just really comes with a lot of network shows. And that's, why I talked about that at the beginning. That, if this show wasn't on network, I feel like it'd be a lot better. But there's just a lot of cliche and kind of predictable things happening in the show. I mean, I don't know. Just watching it, maybe it's because I just watch a lot of shows that kind of follow the same sort of, format and kind of material wise. But I just felt like some of the scenes were really predictable. I knew what was going to happen. This stuff with like Sophie, saying, well, what else could you heal? I mean, that's just kind of a predictable thing. That's nothing, really fresh that we've, never seen. Stuff like that. And the flashbacks, it was nice. But a little bit of it was kind of predictable, right? You knew that they were, kind of up to something, and then you knew how they were going to react to the big arrival, right? And how they were going to, handle that. And then the stuff with Marshall, finally telling his girlfriend that they're going to leave, and then, she gets mad at him. So, I don't know. I just feel like there's a lot of cliches in this one. And honestly, I think that the concept is keeping this one afloat. The acting and the concept. Although the acting in this one by a couple of the minor characters was like, I don't know. I just really, I didn't buy it. Like, I didn't buy like Agent Foster, for example. And I don't like to do that because, I mean, I don't like to, say a specific actor is doing a bad job because I don't think he did. It just felt like an awkward scene. I would blame that more on the writing than the actual actor. Like in this whole episode, I'd blame it on the writing more than the acting. Just because they're given like weird lines. I mean, that whole exchange with Foster and Jude, that was like really, really awkward, and I didn't really understand that at all, why they would do that. So yeah, I mean, it's just kind of little stuff like that that kind of takes away from the enjoyment of the show. But maybe I'm just judging it too closely. Maybe this is just one of those shows where you kind of have to turn off your brain for a little bit and kind of just focus on what's going on instead of maybe thinking about it a little bit too deeply. But anyways, those are just my kind of opinions there. But yeah, we'll see going forward if they kind of make improvements to this or it gets worse. We'll have to see. Favorite character for this one's going to be Marshall. A lot of focus on him this week. Played by Tommy Bastow. Yeah, so he's honestly, I would say, one of the standout actors in the show. I think he's doing a good job. This is like his big role. This is his first big role on anything, I think. So yeah, I think he's doing a pretty good job for being kind of like a first-time actor here. Yeah, his character is very interesting. Is it really fate that's holding him back and not letting him kind of leave Port Cannon? And does he have a connection with Hannah? Right? I really want to see where that goes going forward. But anyways, that'll just about do it for the review this week of The Crossing. Of course, thank you so much for watching this video, and thank you so much for the recent support on the channel. I really, really appreciate it. But anyways, again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week for The Crossing Season 1 Episode 6. Already 6 episodes in.